There's a couple of extra. Hey now. There's a couple of extra of these if anybody wants one.
Hello, Amber.
Hi, Neil. How are you
Not
today?
taking any nights off. Work every night. For yourself.
We're on tour this week. Will you come?
We could have
Oh, that's it, just on.
Ag commission tomorrow.
Joe's resigning. George
Ag,
resigning.
agriculture.
What's that?
I'm still doing a farm
No,
map.
oh, you mean, was he
Well, I'm
there?
doing a farm map for them.
Yeah.
You got something else to keep in there?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but
5. It starts at 5, it
A
goes till
chair would be
about
nice. Oh, good, there's a
6:15, and then the ag commission
Like
is
the middle of the month, like next week,
Girl.
and they're moving to like Florida.
Good to hear Clint
I don't know.
smile on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know
Thanks
what's
to
gonna
you.
happen.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's.
So-
But somebody said they do that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Proper seat?
I have a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple of
No,
extras
I'm
there.
waiting because I don't know if somebody else is supposed to come. I don't want to take up their space.
There he is. Ding, ding, ding. You might need to grab a chair from the room there. Sorry.
I'm curious, you know,
Same.
Yeah.
Has your friend given
Oh,
up
yeah.
completely on the, has your friend
He's
given
gonna
up
be late.
completely on the idea of the disc golf? Or
He's,
is it still?
he had a game.
Yeah.
Is that the one that
I
ready to
need a
fall
yoga
apart?
ball chair.
That.
Give it that one.
Okay.
A yoga ball
I don't
chair.
think that's how we presented it. So he's-
Okay.
I meant to steal it from my last office, but somebody else.
Okay, I didn't know if he was gonna wait for a second or going for.
Yeah, I think that was how we had to do it.
All right.
We're going for it or
Don't
we're.
think
I'm going to
No.
call the meeting to order. It's 6:02, roughly. If you don't mind, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Donna has volunteered to describe tonight, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, because I know when people did.
Yeah, Donald's.
Of course I would, okay, you do it, and you call it, thank you.
You're an expert.
So, item 4 is approval of our minutes from the 4:10 meeting. I'll give people, if people need a copy of them, I have a couple here. If you didn't get to read them online, Pat, did you get a chance to read the minutes? Once you've read through them, if the, people are okay with them, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes. If there's any changes, let me know. Is that a motion to approve?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the
I
last
don't
meeting.
know if I read it, but it's good to me. I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? All right. All right, brings us down to item 5, the Riverwalk. After our last meeting, many of us walked over next door and made our presentation to the zoning board, which went very well. And they gave their approval. And I don't think they're still here, but Dave Perkins got us put on the Inland Wetlands Commission agenda very quickly, which was great. So I attended that meeting. Don't even remember the exact date, but I presented the photos and the map and everything to them, and their only ask was that we present them with some sort of a picture or diagram of what we want the bridge to look like, so they can put it in files. It doesn't have to be exact, just some sample of what we might consider. So they, and as we change it, just get them updated pictures and they'll keep them in the file. They just want to have records, that's all. So we can talk a little bit about the bridge as we move forward here, but they were all very pleased with what they saw, and everybody said, yeah, let's go forward. So brought it to the Board of Selectmen last week and received approval there. And so now we're here where we are. Now, maybe before we start, I know, Amber, do you have to go? Do you have a commitment? You said that maybe
Yeah,
you're
but
gonna
not
have to
so,
sneak out.
not for,
Okay, because I'll let you go
Because I'd like
before
to
we
stay
discuss the
full.
bridge if you want, or if you'd like to flip-flop.
well, I'd like to stay for this whole section because
Okay.
it'll only make this stronger.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So, item C is really the discussion around the walking bridge. Now, I will add, and I guess he wasn't able to make it, but I had a discussion after the Board of Selectmen's meeting with
Mike Delano.
Mike Delano. And he has a Boy Scout that's looking for a project.
Oh,
So I rolled out the map and showed him what we were looking for, and he said he would love to have the kid work on that, and he will work hand in hand. And Mike, I don't know if you've ever seen some of the work that Mike Delano did at his house, or what he does sometimes, on his own time. This is not his job. Does wonderful work, so I'm confident that he can guide the Boy Scout to do something really nice.
is it for a merit badge?
I believe it's for his Eagle Scout project. So, and it's not Mike's son, it's somebody that he's just kind of mentoring.
They fundraise for those projects, right?
Yes.
It's self-funded?
So, as part of the Eagle Scout project, they have to raise all their own money, purchase the materials, and do all the work. They can ask for assistance and guidance, you know, with design and all of that, but, so, that's where we're at now. I'm sure that Mr. D'Amico came with some sort of a picture of something that he would
Well,
like to see the bridge look like.
I just want to make it clear that I don't know if we really need like a bridge, so we have to tone that down a little bit. Like, if there's a bridge, it's mainly to get over wetland. It could be a walkway like this with wood, pressure treated wood. It could be a walkway like this, something of that nature. Just to give you an idea, a picture of something. And then
Right.
this is a description of building more or less the walkway, not so much a bridge. That could end up to be as a bridge. And this goes, you know, over on either side of the water.
Okay.
So that's just a.
Now, you were talking about this in this area, right? I mean,
Right,
we
just
do
this
have to
area.
have a span that goes across that spillway, because we can't interrupt that.
Okay, I thought we were gonna be on this side of the.
No, and Rick,
Yeah,
this is good discussion for you too, so.
it's not, it is a wetland by definition, but I mean, it's a water course, intermittent water course. It's the exit of the duck pond, if you will, up by Hyde Park Road. It comes underneath the culvert and down through. It's a short span, I'm thinking it's 12 feet, 10 feet.
So now Al was talking about when we get past the tennis courts or the skate park and we make our turn to the left and go up. Our thought, well, I think you were talking about we did it before we get to the spillway.
That's just a thought. just to
Right,
bring up-
that's a thought, and we wanted your opinion, what's easier for you? If we go past the spillway and go up and then cross over with a bridge, or stay before the spillway and then maybe do a wooden walkway up that way,
Because that's wet.
because it's wet there.
We know that was wet from years ago, but it dries up anyway, but
Right, it does dry up,
in
but
some seasons it's wet.
so we're kind of looking for your guidance too, what's easier for,
Do a lot of hiking, and I'm familiar with both. I think the bridge would be much more aesthetically pleasing. I think they're really neat. If you've I wouldn't propose to build a bridge, but if there's a scout that's willing to do it and it's not gonna cost us, it would be my preference. I think it would look better and I think it would look nicer. There may be areas that are wet and that would require some sort of additional work, but usually when you box out the topsoil and replace it with a processed aggregate, it packs pretty well and it takes that sponginess out. I don't think that there are any, well, I'd have to look at it a little closer, but I'm not sure there are any legitimate wetlands
Right,
in that
yeah.
pathway that I walked. I certainly didn't notice anything. And I'm a certified soil scientist, so I'm the guy that says it is or it is not a wetland. So, I mean, I'd have to auger it and look at the soil types, but I
Right.
think it's a regulated area.
Okay. So, what else did you have for a picture here?
Yeah, they had one in Ellington, we didn't go to see it, but they made that one in Ellington over by Stop and Shop, they said. The grandson saw it, because I didn't go. Yeah,
The bridge?
yeah, bridge.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Yeah.
No, it was really a real nice bridge, and.
Yeah, the people love them, they'll take pictures from them and stuff.
Right, yeah.
They're aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. Well, before anything, I mean, a lot of it can be started, and this can be.
Oh,
worked out,
absolutely, right,
then
right.
We work our way into this later on, because it is a go. And then up along top of the stone wall, if there's any places, my whole idea was if there's anybody that has any concern about us walking over an area we're gonna damage it or something by putting in then we put a walkway.
Right,
And
right, if there was, yeah.
there
I
again,
understand
it's
what
just
you're
a
saying.
boardwalk to step on that instead of the grass or even the aggregate. But that's only in some, short locations. And then the bridge, we go up further and come around and go over the bridge back. We just have to design that. Yeah, the bridges that we saw weren't
I'll
really,
kind of I'll take this, you can give this to the Wetlands Commission.
Yeah, just, they want just
Yeah.
something.
Just something so they have something in the file.
Just an idea of
And I'll
what-
just say that, this is, a beginning stage and that it's gonna
Yeah.
be modified.
that's a pretty solid road, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm gonna, I think if you guys all agree, maybe we let the Boy Scout kind of run with it a little bit and bring us his design and see what he comes up with, and then we can kind of say, yeah, that doesn't work, or yeah,
Okay.
that's great, that's wonderful. Mike seems to be pretty good with his hands and stuff, so I would guess that he would do something that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
I think we do have to tell them at what point we want them to go across the water course. Because when I was walking there and taking photographs, there's a tree. And next to the tree, it looks like there was something there once, because there's big rocks that
Yeah.
look like there were supports for something
Yeah,
crossing it.
there was something there
Yes.
at some point in the past, yeah.
So that's where we thought, as we were walking, that would be where we would want the bridge to span that water course.
Yeah,
That almost leads right into the continuation of the walk on top of the wall.
I like how you were saying that it would be more aesthetically pleasing, because near my house is where they take all the prom pictures, the gazebo.
Yeah.
And I still envision a gazebo down at that area near the bridge that we're talking about. And maybe that could be another destination for people to go to
Sure.
take pictures. I can even see a wedding party taking pictures down there, perhaps.
It's a park that we seem to be using more and more. It's a beautiful park.
Yeah, I think
And I think it would lend itself to, additional enjoyment and, I think even people that came through Fall Fest or whatever, I think they enjoy the trail and the walk.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Does anybody else have anything about the bridge? Should they have any pictures or anything anybody else brought? I don't think Donald does, I talked to him about it. But again, keep thinking about what you'd like to see, what our vision is for the bridge, and I'll get in touch with Mike. I was hoping he would be here tonight. He said he might come, and he might still pop in.
Is he a carpenter, is this?
No, I don't know what Mike does for a living, but
He's
he
electrical.
certainly
He
knows
does a
what
lot
he's
with
doing when he does it. His backyard is like,
geothermal and.
he showed me some
plumbing.
pictures of what he's done back there.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my God, it's beautiful.
He
So,
does beautiful work.
yeah,
Where does he live?
up on, what's that road off of, Chestnut Hill there?
The Garland Drive?
The one, just before Avery's farm,
Galebury.
Galbraith.
Galbraith.
Galbraith
Yep.
Drive, yeah, it was up on there, maybe, 3/4 of the way up on the left. It's really a beautiful house. Okay, so, all good stuff. Al, I'm gonna steal this
Yeah.
as a prototype
Yeah.
to start with. I'll get this to the inland wetlands, they can stick it in the file and we'll just grow on it.
I should go over to LH and take, I know where it is, my
just
grandson.
make
I'm
a
gonna tear this
copy
off
of it or
because you left my phone number on my bag.
I get it.
Okay. So that brings us to Amber.
All right.
Exciting, we have grant opportunities.
Yes, and this is what I've prepared since it was approved last week. The grant was announced in March, mid-March, so with that in mind, it is due very soon. And this is the parameters of the grant. So it's through AARP, and they are looking to make livable communities for all, and with an emphasis on those 50 and older. So within the grant narrative, I really kind of emphasize that while we're rich in natural resources and hiking areas, a lot of those spaces are rugged and maybe not the best for easy accessibility. I didn't. Well, like strolling, I put strollers, and so like
Yeah.
various groups of people that don't necessarily want to scale Soapstone Mountain.
Is this the local AARP Connecticut or
This is national. So they started it last year for the first time, so this is the second round, and they fund everything from several $100s up to several $1,000s. And so a big part of it was stressing how it coincides with the plan of conservation and development, which is kind of in I've been looking at this for a long time.
So what's highlighted in yellow, you need.
I need, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get that for you right now.
So it has to do, yeah, the actual length of the Riverwalk Trail. I can look up the dates where things were approved within the meetings, if
That's okay, I'll get it for you right now, that way we don't have to
Okay.
worry about it.
that's great too. And I also discuss, a lot of it is about placemaking and creating, igniting usable space and then to create further development. So I talked about how this, from the parking area at the Historical Society, this would create kind of the only, like, path, like, set path to things like the amphitheater or the, well, not necessarily the ball fields, but the river itself as well. It's a flat terrain without obstacles. So I don't expect anyone to read this all right now. It's 6-7 pages.
Can you explain what they're looking for in the grant? Just like,
Yes, so they are looking for improvement of livability, particularly in downtown centralized areas, and then projects that ignite change. So this would be like a stepping stone for future development. It could include projects with the Arts Commission, it could include, and future development. It could include more things maybe with the Conservation Commission, with identifying different species of trees and, I don't know, natural resources. So they're looking for not just like, okay, here's a project, now it's done. They're looking to kind of ignite the process of future development for time to come.
for their lives or for the town itself?
For the town. So their funding will end with what they offer for this particular project. But they don't want to see it end there. They want to see narratives that kind of feed into future projects. And there's different parameters. There's like, there's ones that are kind of focused on housing. There's other ones that are focused on kind of pop-up events that create like excitement. So this project type goes under creating vibrant public places.
What?
So we are applying underneath the, let's see, it was the park enhancements. And they funded everything from dog parks to park equipment to trails. And they have funded projects that are similar to communities to Stafford. It's not just big cities or really small rural communities.
The sidewalk.
Sidewalks, crosswalks, anything that makes it easier to get around.
So you're probably already familiar with this, but I was up at the Manchester, what's it called? I don't know, it's a main park in Manchester that they just remodeled and did a wonderful trail and whatnot. And I was sitting out talking with some of the women who were local, and they said that it has totally brought their community together. They said that now, since they've built it up, because they put in a great big playground and whatnot, they say people are getting together, they're doing exercises in the morning out on the grass. Just things that, they have a place to congregate. So it really, developed community out of the blue. So I don't know if you want to add that.
Yeah, I kind of had a
Vibrancy
section
goes.
about that. Like it was just, that's actually where I ended before I came down here. So it talks about deliverables. I included, let's see. I included accessibility of the river, how they really want to see groups working together, so I think this project is a great example of that. Particularly with the Boy Scout troops, town, and then different volunteer groups. Let's see. And then the last part was talking about kind of, I don't think Hyde Park's underutilized, but it certainly would bring, it's underutilized.
It is.
I mean, when there's things going on, when there's baseball games, when there's events, when there's summer concert series, it's like full of activity, but otherwise, it's probably underutilized. So I talked about how this could be a great opportunity for people to take a lunch, and then, the Arts Commission making those wonderful tables.
I would say underutilized, I could give some, I can't go there with my children that often because there are never any other kids there, ever. Sometimes we'll go just to use the skate park and fool around, but if they want to play with other children, we have to go somewhere else.
Rick,
Yes,
do you remember how many linear feet?
it was about 1,700 linear feet.
Do we have a solid cost? Is that 1,700 you said?
1,700, 1,700.
No, that wasn't the cost, that was it.
Yeah,
No,
the linear
linear
feet.
Oh,
And the 6 foot wide walk is what we were kind of talking about. Does that seem okay? 6 feet wide?
Let's see. I calculated 5 feet wide.
Okay.
It could be 6. We were just looking for some rough numbers for materials, so we could better understand what sort of money had to be generated for that. I think that I shared everything with you, but I want to say we're looking for about 200 tons. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what you had said.
Yeah. Yeah, 200 tons, yeah, at about $12.50 a ton if it's picked up. If it's got to be delivered, then
Right.
it's a little extra charge.
So that worked out to be about $3,000, is
Yeah.
that what we said?
Yep.
I said 3 to 4 inches of layers. That was, that's still highlighted because that was just a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 6 inches.
Yeah, I
6
think
inches,
I think that's what
okay. It was more for word count purposes versus,
Yep.
okay.
And geotextile below.
What was that?
And a layer of geotextile fabric below.
Oh, gotcha.
By using geotextile, we can minimize, normally, I just did a sidewalk at my house or a brick path, and I excavated 14 inches.
Okay.
So you'd have to bring 15 inches of material in, which is pricey. With geotextile, we can get away with 5 to 6 inches of material, and it'll hold up really well. So it's a fabric, much like the stuff that they put on the outside of houses and things, but it's made for earthen use.
Was that incorporated into the $3,000 or is that a separate?
No. The roll was about $600.
Is there any other expenses
I think there's gonna be, I don't think we should, that seems a little bit low to me.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, and again, you know, we're counting on the town workers to do this, so we don't know that we're even gonna be able to utilize them the entire time. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, you know,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to go with Rick's schedule, right? I mean, whatever works for him, but if we can't,
We were talking about town workers, doing what? Doing the entire project?
yeah, doing, how much of the work can your workers do?
I don't
If
know.
any, if you can.
Yeah, I don't know, you and I had talked about having us try to bring the material in.
Yeah.
'Cause you know, but we also, we had entertained the concept of having, hoping we could get some volunteers.
Sure, no.
That would come in with
I
a
would-
mini excavator or something, that was my
Again, this falls
understanding.
right into Amber's,
Yeah, I mean,
grant, if the more volunteers we get.
Yeah,
So let me throw this out,
We're
this
pretty
is something I was
busy.
thinking about, just things popping into my head. Do you think that any of the town workers would volunteer on a Saturday to come in and give us a hand? If, as a community, we did it, would, you think any of them would be? I mean, I wouldn't hold you to what you're saying right now. I'm just,
I can assure you that all of them would absolutely not do it.
Okay.
But you probably could get 10% of them to do it,
okay.
which, you know, which isn't bad.
No, I mean, if we can,
I've-
if we can just kind of throw out there that, hey, we're gonna have a work day on the
Yeah.
walk,
Yep.
and it's gonna be Saturday, blah, blah, blah.
Continuation, I mean,
Yes.
we've already, I mean, this plan was done by a, you know, a guy that just is volunteering his time.
Right.
Right.
When we did, Killy Field, there were many trees around the building, and I brought a machine and I donated my time. I have
There you
a
go.
large excavator. I'm the guy that
See,
cut all those trees.
and I'm
I did
glad
it.
to donate my time, except I'm
Yeah.
no good at doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need somebody to lead us into, I wouldn't wanna make a mess of it, that would be my concern.
Well, I'm pretty good at it, and anything I do there would not cost the town an extra penny, because I'd be doing it on Fridays and Saturdays, so.
Okay.
I'm on salary.
Oh, and I forget,
Mikey and Joey.
I'm sure I could get the Hipsky boys to come.
That's
Give us a
really what, you know, if you could find
Get a
people
bunch of
that
volunteers.
have large trucks, maybe somebody with a mini excavator, somebody, Dave Roy type guys, that'd be the key to this thing. Well, all we need for this project is a small tracked skid steer and a mini excavator. And, you know, you might have people that would be willing to donate a couple times, or do a small section, and maybe you could have 5 different guys that could do 5 sections. That would, I mean, I think that's the best way to you know, to sell it to the town, really try to minimize the cost, and you know, not have to pay any of the actual town workers to be in there. You know.
Right.
We
As
could
long
do
as you
it,
know that,
but
you
we-
can probably write that
yeah.
into the grant.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's preferred to organize.
we are capable and willing, I just don't, I'm not sure that we should.
Okay.
You know, we have a lot of,
Oh, I understand.
we have a lot of
Fully
other
understand.
things that we are not keeping up very well with, so, yeah, but I mean, we will, I mean, I still could put it out to the guys and hope that we could get some voluntary stuff. I think that's,
So Fridays is actually an opportunity, right?
Friday and Saturdays and Sundays are opportunities for the guys in the highway department. The guys in the parks department, work 5-day work weeks. But, you know, you get guys like Tyler and Ryan, I'm sure they would be enthusiastic about offering some help, and these guys they're machines. I mean, they're real hard workers, and they're parks guys, they know how to do this kind of stuff. So, but I mean, I wouldn't expect them to do it all, and I wouldn't expect anybody to do it all.
Right.
I mean, this should be a
we want it to be a
collaborative
community
effort.
thing. Yeah.
That, you know, that's just the many people coming together to try to get, you know, a large project done. A professional could probably get in there and do it in a week. It could take us months.
Right.
The biggest thing is you gotta start off with somebody like yourself,
Right.
us together, to design it and put a start on it, like how you're gonna exactly how you're gonna build it. In other words, are you gonna put siding, wood siding, or you're gonna just put any kind of pavers on the side and then fill it in? Are you gonna dig it up first? So all that is taken into consideration. You start a 20-foot piece, and then the volunteers will come in and do the rest of it, because they'll see exactly what has to be done. We do it the exact same way as that, and just continue all around. You run into any obstacles, like you'd end up, there's one spot there that goes over all the tree roots are all exposed. So something like that, you can't dig up, you have to go up higher. That has to be built up quite a bit higher, so I don't know, I mean, it's not like people are gonna fall off the side, it's only gonna be 6 or 8 inches, the thickness of it has to go right over the top of the tree roots. You can't dig it up, because then you kill the tree. And then you get the other place where it's wet, it's gotta be dug out, and that sod has gotta be brought someplace.
It does, that's, you know, logistically, the challenges are going to be excavating or boxing out the area that we're gonna be installing this thing. So you have to dig down, say, 6 inches. That material needs to be hauled away. It's topsoil, it's
Right,
nice stuff.
Some of it could be used, especially where he was saying where the wet places, or even it can be used for side dressing to use it on the side to blend it.
Yeah, that's even a better one, yeah.
Typically, it would be loaded in a small truck or a dump trailer that's pulled by a pickup truck, something small, and stockpiled
So
somewhere.
whatever the width of that mini excavator or that
The mini usually,
bobcat, whatever it is.
yeah, mini excavator
skid
is
steer.
67 inches wide. So it would, but you could make it fit in there. I mean, you could.
Yeah, because we gotta be careful running around in the grass there, because it's soft there.
Yeah, they wouldn't, they would stay in the
We had
excavator.
a truck back in there the other day with the wood chips. Because I was driving around, total coincidence, I was driving around there and I see this big 18-wheeler backing in. I said, oh, what are they doing right on top of my walkway?
Interesting choice of words, my walk.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to myself. And then he was back and he had the wood chips that the people were, I guess, that do the landscaping or whatever.
Oh, it's spread chips.
Yeah, they were gonna use them to spread around and plant things and whatever.
So, we were talking about money. What would be a good number? I mean, we're talking 36 to 4,000 in materials, but what do you think a good number is for us to have enough money to make sure, you know, that we don't have to keep going back to the well? So if we were gonna ask, you know, we've got the Lions Club and Paradiso Insurance and American Sleep Bearing and possibly TTM, what kind of a number, and the grant money, right? What kind of a number do you think we're looking at? I mean, and I'd want to say aggressive.
6,000.
I was thinking 5,000 or 6,000.
6,000.
6,000.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be a good numbers to.
And how long do you think it'll take before you hear anything, Amber, about results? Did they say?
August 15th?
Oh, we don't want to wait that long.
It has to be completed by November 5th, that was my next draft. Is this something that can be completed by November?
Oh, the project needed to be completed by November 5th?
Mhm.
That's doable.
I definitely want to do one for
It's probably
your anniversary. I mean, we want it by, you know, 2019. It would be nice to have it done.
The key is to get lots of people
Right.
going on this thing, and, you know, if you can, I would think you could complete the project in 3 to 4 weeks pretty comfortably.
And Mary, that was a good suggestion. I'll see if Mike and Joe, see what I can get out of them. Because they've done a lot of work for the town. They like doing stuff here.
And Mike Delano too.
And Mike
He would
Delano.
be a great
Yeah.
person to design, to help
Yeah.
start it, because he knows, he's done it.
So maybe we should set up a time, we can all go down, Rick, you can be down there, and we can get some folks to go down and kind of do a walkthrough and actually see what we're doing, you know, the
Yeah.
whole, our team can go down and with you and, anybody that we find that might be interested to help out.
Can it be marked out?
It shouldn't have to be, I mean,
Oh.
it's pretty clear
easy.
by the plan. Yeah, and I think I would, if we had money left over in the end, I would encourage you to consider some sort of a commemorative thank you plaque
Oh, absolutely.
We had
I
already
mean, I
talked
think
about
we're-
doing
The
something
names
like
of
that,
people
yeah,
that-
yeah,
We definitely would
volunteered
like to
and
do
stuff
some
like that.
different things. I mean, and Stacy
Yep,
was talking about, you know, making it a little bit educational,
Yeah.
maybe investing in putting up some sort of,
yeah,
you know, boxes with saying, you know, what kind of tree is this, or, you know, just as an example, but we have some extra money to do some of those little things along the walk to make it maybe educational or interesting, or,
There's some things that are already there like that,
yeah,
along the fence.
oh, okay.
Mm.
Amber, do you have to specify a sum?
Yes.
Is that matching?
No, but they do have matching funds are not required. But they do have a section, they're not required, however, any details for matching funds or in-kind contributions, they want you to list, and would be my guess that they were favorable for, because that goes back to that kind of backing of the community.
Like if Rick wants to volunteer his time with an excavator, that's an in-kind.
yeah.
They
those would
like
be
seeing
matching
stuff
funds.
like that.
Yeah.
They could be
love to see
considered
that.
matching funds though.
Yeah, because the whole
Because-
idea of this
Yes.
is the community
Community.
coming
Mhm.
together to realize a great project that will make it better.
Yeah.
So
I
the
think
board-
if you hired somebody to do this project, it would probably cost $6,000 to $10,000. Just,
Labor?
no, for labor and machinery, like if you hired somebody, say $8,000 and the $6,000 for the materials, that would be what it would cost. But if we can get a grant for the materials and get volunteers to do the labor and the machine work, then we essentially would be matching 50/50.
Yeah, that's kind of what I don't know if I got to that part yet.
Or more,
But
more
in my-
like 60/40, you know.
It was a material ask, and then everyone else would come
Mhm.
together to make it happen. So I think that I would just need clarification on the timeline. It is mid-August that the funds would be announced.
I just want to give you that, because that's got the date.
Can the project be started and finished before the grants are issued?
Good question.
We'd have to come up with the money, and then what we would do with the grant money?
Phase
Give
2.
it back to whoever
We
gave
have
us the
phase
money.
2 and phase 3 coming.
Yeah, we gotta figure.
Right, yeah, there's always more phases, right. Yeah, if we don't get the grant money, what do? We raise the money, and then we get the grant money, and then what? It goes in like a CD or something?
I was just saying, we didn't wanna wait and see, I mean, if we
Right,
get
right,
started.
Does the grant require a report? So you have to
Oh, yeah.
say, yeah, so you probably can't do that. You'd have to show that you used it for the project.
I'll have to look into the reporting mechanisms.
But it could go back into like we were saying about more things, whether it be the plaques and, you know, dress work or, you know, extending that, like we had said, going out a different thing later on or something like that, even if we didn't use it for the starting part of it, it's all the same part of the project.
Right.
Gardens,
Yeah.
additional gardens.
My only concern is, like I outlined, the materials that the money would be used for, and
Yeah.
so they like to kind of,
Uh-oh, yeah,
and there's other opportunities to apply for funds, but this one has been burning a hole on my desk. so,
Yeah,
Um,
just that August 5th date seems awful long way away, and we've given up a whole summer's worth of work if we wait.
mhm.
And then if we don't get it, then we're still,
That's the best time to be doing it because
Right.
it'll
Yeah,
be drier.
August is the time.
Yeah, it'll be drier.
you think August is a
August
good time?
is-
Well,
Best
July and
time to do
August,
it.
June, July, August especially, because it'll be the driest time it's gonna be, for sure, so some of those wet areas won't even be wet probably then.
Yeah,
September, October can be tough. If rains come in and
Right,
it's
right,
not that
storm,
warm,
you
it
get
doesn't
early
dry up
storms and
quickly.
stuff.
And we start digging it up with the volunteers.
Yeah, you can't leave it dug up, you
Right,
have to
I know.
dig
Right,
it still as you
yeah,
go
it's
along,
6
because you need to be able to
inches,
leave
what did you
it.
say?
I don't want it to look like an eyesore either, because then we
But you can't do that, it's a good time.
Well, let's start with gathering volunteers, right? Let me see what we can, let me contact folks, anybody that knows anybody that does this kind of work. Put a bug in their ear and I'll set a date where we can meet down at the Hyde Park and kind of walk through exactly what we're looking for, and then the folks can actually see. It shouldn't, I mean, it's not like you're going up over hills and all that stuff, it's pretty flat for the
Pretty
most
flat.
part.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the work isn't gonna be as hard as what probably a lot of guys do that do this kind of work, so, Like I said, it's pretty soft in most of the spots, so you shouldn't have to work too hard to.
Yeah, and there are areas that are high and dry, so if we had a week that people volunteered and it was raining, you could keep them up in the high areas.
Alright,
Does anybody know the person in Wellington who did that complex?
yeah, that came up last meeting
We
too.
can ask them, we can ask them.
We could have, more meeting, or
Which
Christina.
complex?
I never
Well,
did
down by
that.
the,
One by the
right
highway.
by down here, the walkway around
Oh,
there,
night.
park down there.
Night
Night
construction.
Yeah, that's what I told you last time, that a lot of that was done by night, cause they
Right, yeah.
exchanged that for, they took the fill and all that process out of
Right.
there for the work being done.
So maybe,
And Knight has a mini,
what's that?
Knight has a mini excavator, exactly like the one the town has. It's a 123 Kubota. They
Which
also have
means
larger
nothing to
equipment.
me, how about you,
Yeah,
John?
no.
Well, it's a little excavator.
I know Kubota, I see him at the Big E and stuff.
Do you think they
Maybe,
designed it?
I wonder if they would even be, they could keep the material that they dig up, right? I mean, that's what they were looking for?
Yeah, they would take the material, yeah.
Couldn't hurt, couldn't hurt to ask him, right?
No.
Does anybody have a contact with any?
I do.
Knight
He knows them
Construction?
very
I know
well,
Knight's really
Rick
well.
does.
Yeah.
We could
You
purchase.
think could you just talk to them and see what their
Absolutely.
feeling is?
Yeah. Yep.
That'd be great.
You think they designed it, the Wellington complex?
No, they think they were the excavators. It was their equipment that was
They
in
knew
there.
where they had to put it,
Yeah, but it was probably designed by others, I'm sure.
yeah.
We can talk to some of the, Mary
Yeah.
knows a lot of people in the Wellington area there. Her sister
My
lives
pink
there.
phone.
I'm
See the
sure she
pink
was
phone sitting in
involved
there?
it, and,
Yep.
we know Christina was one for Selectman pretty well, so, we can kind of poke around and find out if, who else was involved and maybe get
I'll
them
get it
to,
first.
at least maybe advise us, right? Give us some advice on what
Any
they ran
little
into.
bit like
Yeah.
that.
Accessibility.
All right, so my to-do is to pull in the Hipsky boys. Rick is going to talk tonight.
John, can I ask a favor?
Who's that?
Can I ask a favor?
Yep.
I have to go to, the historical thing, because I offered to bring food.
Yep.
So can I go next while Amber's still here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when we're done with the other thing, I just wanted to ask.
No, we can jump down there now if you want.
Okay, it's
And we'll
quick.
come back to, we can come back to that.
I have one more quick question.
Go ahead.
It's about metrics. They like to capture how it's been used. Were there any ideas about maybe a key, I know some hiking trails, you can sign in and say like where you're from. Is there any way to like capture the usage of the trail? You don't have to answer that now, but.
I would
Well, it
say
certainly can be. We can make that part of it. That means we're gonna get money. We'll get it.
Yeah, they're looking for some sort of like reporting mechanism, like,
Ah,
did anyone use it? Like, so, maybe we just put some trail cams up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can give it some thought, and certainly look over what I've created. It's a rough draft, there's some sentences that are probably,
It is time sensitive though, when do you
it
have
is
to
very
have
time
that?
sensitive. I'm gonna submit this next Wednesday.
Okay,
So,
so are there answers you're waiting on from us?
you answered the ones I had, and the information you just gave me, I can create this. And next Wednesday sounds scary, but I did create this 8-page document in 12 hours.
Okay.
I have to do a project tomorrow, and then I'll return to this on Thursday.
All right, well, email me or call me if you need something else before that time, and we'll get it to you.
do you have any more examples of how they measure the usage of something?
They said, capture over the course of this grant activity and beyond, and include goals for each metric, each example, or for example, number of people served, number of certifications issued, and structures achieving ADA compliance, for example.
If you put like a little map there or some like informational thing, you could see how many are gone.
Oh, that's true. I like that.
What do they mean actually by metrics?
Just like reporting mechanisms. I thought another
Like weather
good opportunity for future collaboration was to make a town-wide trail map and include this on that as well, with a conservation plan.
Yeah, just a percentage of people.
What did you just say? I missed that.
I thought another future opportunity for collaboration would be like a comprehensive Stafford trail map of all the areas to hike, and then include this as well. But that would be like a partnership with the Conservation Commission, most likely.
You can definitely put a sign-in book to start with too, I mean,
Sign book it is.
it's easy.
That's true, yeah.
Put it in a waterproof thing that they can lift up and sign in.
I've been on trails where it's in a big
Yeah.
Ziploc bag.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly, yeah.
What about the one in Florida went to? What they have there?
Right, I'm done.
That conservation.
Okay, Diane, yeah.
Okay, we need some sort of manageable plan to look at, because a couple of things came into this commission, or committee, about making the town hall accessible. So, because it's gonna cost money and resources and all that, I would say, and the thing is, it's not just mobility issues. Some people have breathing issues, some people have little children, some people have, I mean, the ability to have access to the building in an easier way would be great. So I'm just gonna throw out a few things that might be possible. If there were like a 5-year plan and grants were included in that, and we might be able to get used stuff as well. I'd say we start with getting a space on that side, an accessible space, because there's more than 25 spaces. And I had already talked to OPA, which is Protection Advocacy, which has now become a private agency, and Tony Guglielmo was helping me with that, but he's not running again. And we were able to get the spot on Main Street for a parking space there. And then the second thing I would probably want to see would be a doorbell or intercom system here in the building. Unfortunately, it would mean probably somebody closer to one of the doors would have to be in charge of answering it. But at least if somebody were down there and they really couldn't get in, or they couldn't reach the door because we don't have an automatic door, that would be helpful. There's a chair that can go up and down the stairs, either the front ones or the back ones. We could close off one side if it were the back ones, and because some people would use the other one. A ramp somewhere, either in the front of the building, but I would rather have it here because more people can actually park there. And the Stafford Historical Society had one, and now they have a new one, which is in pretty good shape. And so the first one was somebody's Eagle Scout project, and I don't know who did the second one. An automatic door, and I don't know if any other place in town building has an automatic door. Okay, so that's another thing. And then finally,
Community center?
No,
I don't think
neither
so.
does the library.
Well, there's opens, yeah.
Yeah, theirs is like a
Oh,
storefront,
yeah,
like a
yeah. I'm sorry, I
storefront, like a
forgot. Yes,
storefront.
it
So
does
that's
do
the
that.
one, but usually these you push a button to get in. And then, so I was at the Unitarian Church in Springfield last weekend, and they have an elevator inside the building. So I have a plan to talk to the minister there and find out like how much it costs and what, because it's kind of interesting. It's like glassed in, and it's really, because it's just a short amount you have to go. It's kind of, there's one in Rhode Island at one of the town beaches, which it's just you just put yourself on there, and it's not glassed in at all. It's nothing, and you just go up at least to get to the bathrooms and then come back down. So there's a lot of options, and the people that I would talk to, or if somebody else wants to sort of work on this, would be Protection Advocacy, which I don't know the new name, whoever our public officials are and elected officials, AARP, ARC Connecticut, Department of Developmental Services, mobility managers in the state. We have 3, and Jonathan Slifka, who's a liaison to the Government for Disability. And the reason why I already have contacts with all these people, because I created a program called Transit Net, and so a lot of these people were on my steering committee and board. So anyway, that's just an overview of possibly a plan that could be put into place very slowly, but at least the public would see that some effort was being made to then we could have meetings upstairs. We could have big theater events upstairs during Winterfest. It was really limited to use when it was inside the hallways and stuff, and we wanted to show a movie up there, but it was it's just like it would open up that space a little more. And of course, going to the actual town offices that are up there. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay.
I have to go.
All right, thank
And
you.
so yeah, if you can look into any of
Yeah.
that would be great.
No, plans are good.
Yeah, and that gives you like a little hint of some possible short-term things.
The town of Ashford put a elevator in their library. Not
How many
in the
floors
last
do they have?
Just 2 floors. Be
Is
just
it
like
the kind you
this.
just slip on and then you go up and it's like open? Like an open?
No, it's like a regular elevator.
Okay, oh, inside,
It's in the original town hall, the stone building,
okay,
Babcock Library now.
yeah.
And, yeah, you walk into the entranceway and it just takes you up to the 2nd floor. It'd be exactly what we needed here.
Except we have 3 floors. We have offices up on the third floor.
Yeah, that's the trick.
That's where the problem, I think, is. I don't think going up to 2 floors is a problem, it's those
Yeah.
others.
It's just us up there.
Yeah, but that doesn't, I mean, ADA.
I know, it's not ADA.
I can't even get to
No,
the
but
third floor.
ADA protects the employees, not the
Oh,
staff.
that's true, yeah.
Right, Diane?
Yeah, and I believe that, I talked to Dave Palmer about this 2.5 years ago, and we had talked about it actually just going on the outside of the building.
Right,
So if it
I
went on the
had heard
outside of
that.
the building,
Yeah.
and it kind of stopped in that first stairwell, and then went up to the second one, if there were some kind of landing put there, but then how are you gonna get across? to-
Right, that was the thing.
Yeah, those
Then,
platforms
well, then
are
maybe
like-
those chairs have to go in or something.
That's what I was gonna say, if we
Or-
could do an elevator and then do 2 chairs, but those stairwells, I don't even know if are they compliant, normal, cause they're so old, they're narrow, just like those back stairs.
Yeah, the other thing would be that's where the doorbell thing might help, is if somebody gets at least to that level, then
Yeah.
people have to come down. And
We had talked about this, I had talked about this quite a few years ago with somebody, talking about doing a doorbell and have one in each office, and then have maybe a main thing down here that says Selectman's office, Public Works, or something. You know, I can give devil's advocate on every single one of those. If you're the only person in an office, you have to leave your office to go down. I mean, there's a lot of different things. As far as outside, I totally agree. The 2 cars that are parked out there right now, I think we could actually have those as handicapped spots and not have them park there. The problem, it's, I don't know, I know ramps and all of those have to be certain compliant. I don't know if it
Inch
would
per
go,
foot.
if it would go out into the parking lot.
Well,
Or
it's
you
interesting
do like a
because
free turn or
there were
something.
some chairs out there, benches that are gone now, and
On the grass part right outside.
yeah, and
the
there's
door.
actually a brick, so that could maybe be used
Maybe
and at
go
least.
out and down.
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
So, anyway, all right, I've got to run. Thank you. Bye.
Is there a budget meeting there?
Thank you.
No, I don't think so.
No budget meeting.
No?
Meaning, no zoning
The
board got
14th.
canceled.
There was no zoning
Yeah, that got
meeting.
canceled, the
Oh,
zoning.
That
it
got
did get
canceled.
Zoning got canceled?
Are you
Yeah.
looking for the Board of Finance? meeting?
Yes.
It's for next month. on the
Next
14th.
Monday.
Ah, thought you said tonight.
No. Hey, good seeing ya.
You're gonna go over,
What's that?
you're gonna go over these other things about
Just following up.
recycling, the music,
Okay.
and the 300th anniversary of those. We're gonna do that again tonight? Or talk about them, or you're all set?
Oh, we haven't gotten that far. Actually, I didn't put, that can be under open discussion if we want to do that. I do want to go back to the walkway though, and make sure that we ask all the questions to Rick
think-
that we had. And Neil, did Neil have something?
I think Neil had something he wanted to bring up about what Diane was talking,
Real
yeah,
quick,
yeah.
is there any urgency as far as we're getting fined for
No.
not doing
No.
these things? It's just, we should.
We're grandfathered in as an older.
Because of
We're behind the
Okay.
times.
Oh, this is, we're still, you're talking
I'm talking
about?
elevator.
Oh, okay,
Is there
okay,
any,
sorry,
you
Neil, I
know,
didn't
to get
realize
this,
that.
Just to follow up on that. But, I'm good with that one question, and jumping back to the thing, if I could just, when you're doing a timeline, August 5th seems to be a good date, that is gonna be fair, that's also the date if I get approved by the Board of Selectmen for the Blues Fest, if we get everything straightened out, that would be that date.
Okay.
Have big holes up by that part of the thing on that weekend.
So to have it done before then?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah,
That's when the funds are issued, so it'll be after.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, and I
Sure.
don't mean to butt in, I'm just here really as an
Yeah, don't
observer,
worry
tell
about
me
it.
to shut up if I. So if Amber was not to get this grant, how are you gonna go about this?
We're gonna ask the Lions Club, Paradisos, American
So
Sleep
can
Bearing,
you
TTM, and any other.
ask for some money, get it started?
Well, that's
And
just
then
it,
if the
yeah.
grant comes in, I'm sure you can use that money for the other parts of the grant.
I emailed them a list of questions, I have not heard back. Unfortunately, there was not a phone number, usually there's a contact, like, about questions.
Yeah, I mean,
What's the
if one
complexity
question
of
were, would we be penalized if we tried to start this earlier and finish maybe half of it or whatever, and then use the grant for the second half?
I'll certainly try.
You know, I don't wanna get us to a point.
But if you
where
wait until
we
August
fail
and you don't get that grant,
Right, then
what
we-
is
then
the,
we're-
does it say it's a really competitive one? Do you know anything?
They issued 1,200 awards last year, and I think they received,
The United States.
I think they received 2,000 applications.
Oh.
So it's really like
That's not, yeah, that's a pretty good
Pretty
odds.
good numbers,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty good odds.
But I mean, to be able to get the volunteers to begin with, and then maybe start, even just a section of
I'd
it.
like
How
to
about
see
we just
some,
pledge? If we get people to pledge money, I mean, they don't have to give it to you, but say,
But I
if
would,
this goes, I'll give you
Yes.
$1,000 or something, $500.
I come from private industry and it is really exceedingly difficult for me to get used to the amount of time that it takes to get projects,
Yeah.
municipal projects up and running. I mean, it's amazing. And
they know.
I
How long is this
I
going
mean, this is the reality of it. There's paperwork and there's processes that have to be satisfied. I would urge you to be very careful about starting a project that you're seeking funding on. They're gonna be much more enthusiastic about funding a project, not finishing a project.
Exactly.
So, in my experience, and I can't speak to this particular grant, but my experience is that it's unwise to start a project that you're trying to get funding on.
Now, let me just ask, was,
Wait
you
for the
talked
funding.
about, I think you said something about phase 1 and phase 2 and 3. So you have other things. Were parts of that going to continue the walkway?
Right,
a little
because,
bit, yeah.
yeah.
So then why can't you start on part of it if you're only asking for how many feet?
1,700.
1,700 feet. Could you start on part of it and make sure there's, like, if you get the money,
Make sure there's 1,700.
There won't be 1,700 more though.
no, but.
Well, the problem is we're not approved for any of that
Right.
yet.
Oh,
Well,
never mind.
We're approved for what we've presented. I would think we have to go back to the well, to the Hyde Park Commission.
Yeah.
And get approval to do it, and then
Gotcha.
I'm thinking we're gonna have to go back right through the whole
Processing.
process again, because we're altering, another portion of the park, if we continue on. I mean, that's our every expectation is to make this thing.
Once they see what we did, then we wanted to
Right,
maybe
we're hoping
extend
that
it
would
up
be
to
so
like
nice
the
that
middle
they would
school,
be
the old
really
middle
excited.
school.
How is the reporting on that, Amber, do you know? Have you,
You have to do photographic evidence,
and that's about it, just once, right? You have to let them know once and then that's it. So.
yeah, there's a report that's due in December to follow
Right.
it, so I mean, it's not like we have to, for years to come, like.
Right. You don't have to keep reporting.
No, you have to include all the promotional materials, press releases, signage, anything that was used, for the project funds, and then have kind of like a photographic, a sort of journal of the project.
Well, what we could do though, is we could approach all the different people that have said already that they're willing
And
to.
see what we come up with for money.
Right.
might
Maybe
be
we won't
Well,
need the grant.
We're trying for a grant, right?
Yeah.
If we don't get this grant, we approach these folks, beforehand, like right now, saying, look, we're trying to get a grant for this, but if we don't get it, would you be willing to donate X amount? I don't know what that number is yet. I mean, we have.
We haven't approached anybody, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so to have as, Amber doesn't get it, well, we get turned down or whatever, and we're all sad, right? But at least we have approached, and the Lions Club's already said, we've had somebody here say that
Roger.
Yeah.
they're looking for projects to do, and they
Right.
were he was very willing to bring that to the Lions Club and get a good chunk of money for doing some of this. I don't know how much we'd have to ask him.
When I was working in the building department, the Lions Club would come in all the time and say, do you know of anybody that needs a project? Is there something that needs something going on in town? And I know one time they were talking about a walking trail up by the high school.
Mm.
So I know that they probably are, willing to
And
do
Chris said flat out in the Hyde Park Commission meeting, whatever you need, just come see me. So, I don't know whatever you need means, but we'll come to it, we'll go to them and say, we need to have you available in case we don't get this grant, and
How about this go?
then we don't,
Go
at least we don't have to
fund
wait.
Do
I hate to do that, I'd like to personally go down and talk to these people face to face and say, hey, look, this is our project, show them what we're doing, rather than just send them, something, it's just so distant to do that. This is a community project, I want people to see our faces and say, hey, look, this is what we're trying to do, and they hear you more than, just a link, it just seems.
You might get shot down, but you might be surprised. might do okay. And if you end up somewhere in the middle, you could consider, proceeding as it's funded. And it could
Right.
become a publicized event, like fire departments put these things where they
Yeah,
paint up.
how much money they raised.
Yeah, they're halfway there,
Oh,
You
yeah.
could, you could excavate and fill.
Right,
And
as you go.
create, we've made it up to the,
Yeah.
Tennis
Good
courts.
idea.
Oh, wow.
Is that what you think exactly?
Yeah, I know.
So, I think you're only a coach.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking something better than that.
You could do that. You could proceed as it's funded, and then you could appeal to the public to try to fund it, it's $6 a foot, fund 100 feet, fund 10 feet. And, even if it took 2 years to complete the project, that, you might get it halfway done in the first year. The best bet is always gonna be to
get the
get the
grant.
grant, but
So is your,
it sounds like the probability is good. I
Yeah.
think
The
it's a
problem that
good
I was
project.
thinking is like waiting, if you don't do anything, and you wait
Right.
until August and you get nothing.
Right, so I think we go down the path that we need to ask people and get them on the hook. And, be clear that we're trying to get a grant for it and.
Now, is there a specific amount we're asking on the grant, or they,
I put 4,000.
oh, okay, so not enough maybe
Right,
anyway.
it
so-
wouldn't be enough anyway.
Right, right.
That'd be a big,
Well, it'd be a big chunk, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a real good chunk.
Right,
And they said they can partially fund some of it too.
who could?
The, part of it is that they will either fully or partially fund your project.
Right,
So
so you
there's no
could wait and
guarantee
you
that
could get
you'll need
$1,000.
Right.
How much total, Amber?
There's no ceiling that they have.
There's not, they don't tell you how much money they have for this entire
Oh,
grant to split?
not in front of me. But they said that they fund projects that are several $100s up to several $1,000s. So for me,
Oh.
that says like, don't be greedy and ask for
No.
$12,000 worth of it. Like make it.
well, if you say 6. maybe
I would
a
say that too,
percentage of
that's
it.
what I was gonna say, I would put it in for 6.
Yeah, and they'd probably give you
And then if we only get half, that's 3, I mean, that's.
Yeah. Be happy with 3.
We just have to show up. We have to have a budget too. Like we can't
A what?
a budget.
You have to itemize
I
it
can make a
now.
budget, Amber.
Well, we kinda have that a little bit, cause you think about what you're gonna do for
Yeah,
process
we
and all
could
that
get
stuff.
we could get some sort of.
The budget could be the in-kind excavation, cost is blah, 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 that's $3,000. The cost for materials is $2,000.
The example they gave for the budget is pretty simple.
Okay.
So it's really the cost of the material, and then we would show, like the in-kind.
Right, that would be easy to come up with $6,000.
Easily, yeah.
So is the goal to kind of bring it around the tennis courts and then go on to the wall?
No,
Like, is it,
yeah, that's the whole thing, the whole project. is
but
up.
like what you're doing now, is that
That's
All the way.
phase one, or is that the whole?
That's phase 1.
Okay.
Here, this is. I'll
So
show you.
the material that I requested money for, that is just for the bottom portion
Would
of
they
the
like to
river?
see the
No,
plan?
no, the whole thing, the whole
Okay, the whole
walkway.
thing, okay.
Yeah, so we're actually, the gravel drive is here, I think,
Yeah.
so we're really talking about starting from here and going all the way around.
That's really not
This
that
is all
much
along the fence out
materials.
there. You
No,
go past the court and then you come up here, the spillway
not going
comes
deep.
down here from the,
that's only 6 inches. of
Yeah.
from the duck pond. And then goes up around above the wall,
I
there's this
love
band
that.
stage.
Yeah.
We keep going, and then we don't go that way, but we go here.
Okay,
We
great.
stop here.
That's exactly what I wrote, perfect.
Okay. So, Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know, I wanted to just make
that's,
sure
that's.
that, I thought I misheard
What
something.
we consider phase 1.
Okay, phase 1.
But I think within phase 1, we have to go in increments. It's too much for us to do this whole thing at one time. I really believe that. I think we have to say from the trailhead by the library, by the Historical Society, we go, if it's 1,700 feet, we divide it in 3 sections maybe? Because the area
Up to
where the
tennis
bridge is
court.
gonna be, where the spillway is, that is a more technical area for designing
Right,
this.
right, right.
Because it is definitely wet, a lot of the, it's a wetland, it's a wet area. And it's gonna be the hardest for us to design. I just, I just really believe that. So I think we should get our feet wet by doing the easier portions first and then tackle
This way.
the,
The hard part.
Do they expect us to finish?
Well, I put in for phase one.
Yeah, we need to have it
Yeah, it
done,
has to be
if for the
finished.
grant, we have to have it
Yeah.
done by November
Fifth.
5th.
Completely finished,
It's-
all 17.
It's not hard to design, it
No.
really isn't.
it isn't.
It's, the engineering is resolved by the geotextile fabric, it really is. You don't have to consider soils.
Or any-
I've seen, well, back in the, just to give you a little history.
Back in the day?
Back in the day, loggers used to use slab wood to get across wetlands or swamps with trucks. They would take, slabs off the side of logs and they'd lay them down, it was called a corduroy. And you would put slab wood across the wetland and then bring in 3 or 4 inches of gravel, and they would drive log trucks across this stuff. Today, we use geotextile fabric, and I literally have seen projects where they've used 14-foot rolls of geotextile fabric. They've gone through mucky wetland areas, filled it with 6 inches of gravel, and driven log trucks over it.
What does that
And when
look
they're
like?
done,
Is that like
they-
tracking pads? Do they use that for tracking pads? That's
no, this is for stabilization, so.
Oh.
Then they'll pull the gravel out and remove the geotextile fabric, and it's returned to its original state essentially. But the geotextile fabric is really impressive. I mean, it's, if you take a square foot of it, it'll hold like, 7,000 pounds or something. It's unbelievable. It's a woven, super strong fabric. So it's like using low ground pressure technique, and that's what I'm proposing on this. It's going to distribute, any given weight over a large area. So it really doesn't require a lot of engineering or design. I think it has to be approved by the Wetlands Commission, it has to be sold to them. I think that's easily done because it's a solid project. And I think you'd need equipment to make it happen. You could do it with shovels, but it'd take forever.
Yeah.
I mean, today we use, what's that?
You put gravel down, it's reversible.
It could be, I mean, this won't be, this will be forever, and the stuff lasts, I think it's a 50-year product. So, I mean, it's not gonna be, if you go through wet areas with this, it's not gonna be spongy, you're not gonna step in it and have your foot go into the groundwater. It's a solid product, it's
You
a
put it
really good way to
everywhere
do it.
though,
What's
not
that?
only in the wetland, but you're gonna put the geotextile under the stone dust, wherever we lay the trail.
For the entire 1,700 feet.
Mm.
Yep, so it's a roll that's, I think it's 14 feet wide, so we, cut it into 4-foot sections and roll it out and cover it with a gravel. It goes pretty quickly and it really looks nice. Yeah.
So the stone dust would go, you'd cut down on either side, the length, and then you're gonna put the stone dust in there and just fill up
A
to
little,
grade.
a little above grade,
A
you
little
you
bit
probably
above.
go at 3/4 of an inch above grade. So they can mow, they could run a mower right
Yeah.
over it, yeah.
That's how that trail is in Wellington. They
Yeah.
can mow right,
It
they can
is.
go right over it.
Yeah. Yep, it's not, I mean, this is not, I mean, you could, with the proper equipment and right people, I mean, one of the bigger issues is, getting the waste material out of there.
If we can
And
find
the
somebody that
process
will come
there.
in and do it, that would
But
be
you could,
great.
you could move pretty quickly if you had, even something like a small dump trailer that they pull with a 4-wheel drive pickup. You could take small loads of material out and bring them in. But, yeah.
You know what, John? Think of back when our era of people were involved in Little League, and look at what we did up there with those batting cages. It was
Oh, I know.
all volunteer work, lights were put up. I mean, we did that total volunteer, and
Yeah.
it was like
And-
insurmountable,
and you probably used
insurmountable at the
wheelbarrows.
time, and we did it.
Wheelbarrows and shovels.
Yeah.
That's the way they
Big
did it.
grant for
Let's
the
do
lights.
it.
You as usual.
The grants are huge, right?
What?
Grants for the lights,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yep.
You know, I almost think, see, when you start talking, you know, excavators, I start thinking that we're a farming community. There are so
Yes.
many excavators
Yes.
out there.
You need a very
Yeah, but not that
You
size
need very
excavator.
small
These are little things.
Yeah, I guess
These are-
I'm thinking more on the larger scale. But in the dump trucks as well, I mean, our neighbor has one. But I keep on thinking, because you're saying this is supposed to, for the grant, involve the community. There are a lot of people who have never been involved. And this would be an awesome opportunity to reach out to them and have them be invested in something, because they probably don't feel a part of the community. Why would they?
Right, if nobody's asked them.
No one's ever asked them, they've never participated in anything, because they just feel like they're on the outskirts. So maybe reaching out to some of the less involved people.
That's a dump trailer and a mini excavator. So you can give some, the dump trailer you pull with a
Oh,
pickup truck.
okay, yeah.
I mean, they're small.
I'm sure there's probably a good amount of those
Just
around
about
here.
6 foot, 5 or 6 foot blade on it.
But I agree, there are people that do want to. When we've been involved for years, you get the people
Nice
that,
phone.
the same people, the same
phone.
people go from function to function to function. But I have been to things years ago when my kids were in school, and people would be like, how come I don't know? Join. And, you know, so
I've
to
seen
be
somebody
welcoming
with
to
one of those
people
somewhere.
too,
Yeah.
that is the key.
And then,
right
I mean, there's a common thing when people are invested in something, they'll actually use
there.
it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the more people that come out and use it, well, obviously the better.
It has a little blade on it.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
like-
they have a little push blade
on
on it.
it, yeah.
Ownership is definitely something that I talked about in here, so that's a great thing I can add to that piece.
What was that again?
That's-
Ownership
that's
of the
right.
project.
Yeah.
is
John,
something
you know who
that's
has one?
in
You know the guy that lives
the
where
start of
Bosco grew up?
possible that
Yeah.
He has one of
contributes
those.
to the creation of it.
Oh,
But I
yeah?
can't think of the guy that lives there now.
CCB has
I don't
one.
mean like just a town.
Oh.
Steve Denham.
Oh!
My
Stevie
personal
D,
project.
alright,
Oh,
there's
look
another
at-
guy.
Look at this.
Stevie D.
I forgot he had one.
Stevie D owes me anyway.
Stevie deals
Well,
everybody.
that's, those are the kind of people
Yeah.
that would invest into the town that, and I think, you know, these are the signs of the times. I mean, we have to pull together and,
Yeah.
and we can't depend on the town to fund everything.
No,
You know,
exactly.
to get out there and make it happen, you know. It's the way things used to be and, you know, it's the way the
It's
future
true though,
used to
and that's
be.
how it used to be years ago, barn raisings and,
Yep.
you know, you helped your neighbor and you did
Many
that, and I
hands
really
make-
do think, what?
Many hands make light work.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think we do need to get back to doing that, because, if we want anything done, we're gonna have to do it ourselves, just like we used to do.
You know, if you talk to CCB, ask them if they would consider doing, you know, a section.
Or the
You
whole
know, say,
thing.
I'll do,
No, tell Stevie
You know, I'll
D.
do-
No, the whole
Do the
thing.
I'll do 800
The whole
feet or
thing.
something like
I
that. you
didn't
know.
even think of Steve.
That you'll do part of it? Oh, I'm
No, I
sorry,
mean,
what
just
did you
ask
say?
him if he would.
Something like that.
volunteer. Yeah.
Like with them type of machines, somebody that especially knows how to run it.
Oh my God.
It goes quick.
Yeah.
It really does.
Rick, you would have the town, if we had the money to buy the stone dust, we would ask the town to go pick up the loads of stone dust and dump them somewhere
mean,
there?
It would seem like that would be a good way to do it, if we had extra time with our trucks. They're small trucks. We don't need big triaxle loads, nor do you wanna
Go in
dump them
there
in the
and
grass. I mean, this is.
No,
this
it would
is
be, even where we first pull in there by just before the outhouses, and in there would be
Yeah,
good places to
yeah.
dump
Yeah,
it, work out of that area somewhere.
You need to use small equipment and small trucks
Right.
and small, you know.
Like
small
350 size
piles.
dump trucks. And
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and, you know, like our town trucks are, you know, they're like 6 or 7 yard trucks.
Okay,
we-
so I don't
we could
wanna
do
be
that.
the person who is ignorant here. Uh-oh, who said
Oh,
uh-oh?
I thought you were gonna say people are gonna
No.
think the town.
So, To me, it's Stacy said it.
No.
You work harder, smarter, not harder. So when you go to design something like that, do you go to the farthest end and work backwards? Or do you start here and drive over your own stuff as you go along?
You start here and drive over your
No,
stuff.
you
as
don't.
go along.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you pack it down,
Pack it
right?
down.
That would work.
Whatever. Just saying.
Good
To me,
answer.
I'm thinking, hold on,
Good question.
go that way, you gotta go that way and go backwards, and you dig it all, and then, okay.
No, you could.
You pack
can
it
do
down,
it
it's
either
no
way.
problem?
You could do it either way.
You see how they built the Gold Star Bridge?
No.
They start in the middle and they work back me.
Oh, they were.
Oh, and then they went it together.
They didn't start hearing like this?
That's what I said.
It was, they cantilevered out, it was amazing.
I also would have, well, I'm remembering what I wanted to say, and I don't want to waste Rick's time at all, but as far as proposing this to people, marketing it to people, I think for me, I'm a very visual person, and it's really helpful not just to have a map, but actually to have, you know, show me what it's really going to look like.
Like a rendition?
Put some kids playing out on the grass, mom with a stroller, some elderly people. It just show me what it's going to look like. And I think people will be like, yeah, I want to get on board with that. I know my church is doing a project and they were thinking about moving a building, and they showed us this great big warehouse, and everyone's like, ew, that looks terrible. And then they showed us what it's really going to look like. And then people are like, oh, that's beautiful. You know, it really does make a big difference. And I don't know if even proposing it for the grant, if that would be helpful.
I'm definitely adding your attachment or your document that you've created with all the photographs. I'm including that as an attachment. And then the overall. Fortunately, I don't know if we have time to create an artist rendering of the trail.
No.
for next-
I know.
To submit with the grant, but to
Yes.
do.
Yeah. For marketing,
Get people,
absolutely.
yeah,
For
get
us,
people involved.
To
You know
get
what?
people involved, we could still do
When I was
that.
in the building department, just putting those renditions of what the Rotary's gonna look like and the solar things and what different projects, putting them outside that door, unbelievable the amount of people that stop to look at them. You're absolutely right, people,
Visual.
yes, are very visual, but to see a rendition, it doesn't have to be perfect. Get on that, get done on a piece of paper.
Donna has made a beautiful.
Oh, has she?
Well, it was a PowerPoint.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
But it does, it has like all the arrows that go to the park, it has like pictures of different, it's
Oh, yeah.
like what, 20 pages long? That's going along with it, I think that's a great.
So we've been adding, she started it, I think it was like 4 pages, and it's
Yeah, I think
grown to like 60 pages.
Do you have the, just the PowerPoint, not a PDF? Because I have a PDF version right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you email this to me?
Send it to you.
Yeah, because I think on there it says, it doesn't say the Riverwalk Trail, it says,
Oh, it has a.
Woodlawn.
Woodlawn.
Oh, yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure the name of the project was consistent. And it will be the Riverwalk Trail, or the Woodlawn Trail?
Well, we didn't really name it, I mean,
No.
Donna just used Woodlawn because it was, well.
That's what it used to be called, the Hyde Park.
Right.
Was it really?
Well, that thing up on top, that's what it was called, Woodlawn or something.
Yeah. I'll call it whatever you want.
When Hyde itself owned it or something,
Yeah,
that's
we were
what
really-
its estate was called or
Do you
something.
think it should stay as Hyde Park though?
The Hyde Park Riverwalk.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, that's like-
Yeah, 'cause everybody knows it as Hyde Park.
So if you call it something weird, people are gonna say, where is that?
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
they get confused.
Woodlawn, yeah.
So you can use
put Woodlawn in
Hyde
there.
Park Riverwalk for your
Okay.
submission, that way, you know, it's clear what it is. And, you know, if we wanna dedicate a different name to it afterwards, that's fine.
Phase 2 is Woodlawn.
Phase
Where's Phase 2?
Del
I don't
Boca
know.
Vista. Phase 2 of Del Boca Vista.
So this Phase 1, it will ignite kind of the ideas to add on it
Right.
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about things, you know, options that we might have. Again,
Can I tell
like-
you what I just saw this weekend? I'm sorry.
No.
No, and it was something really,
No.
Amber said I
Sorry.
can't, so I can't. It was something very interesting. I was at the Cape for the weekend, and there's an area that has, it's a walking trail, but it's a paved area. And in 2 different, they're not really parks, but the walking trail goes along with the packed stone, and then there's artists' sheds all along. And they were like nothing better than like, say, Cloder Farm sheds,
Yeah.
but each one of them was painted a different color, and it went all along, and each one of them, I guess on weekends and busy times, they open up, and each one, I don't know whether they rent them
Wow.
from the town or the city, and then they, each vendor had their own stuff right inside,
That's
and it
really
kind of
cool.
goes,
Yeah, and what a wonderful revenue for the town.
it was really cool. Tons of people were going there. There was one that was selling kinds of like handmade clothes, there was jewelry, somebody was selling like honeys and but it was all
So cool.
interspersed all along this walkway. Maybe that's phase 4. But it was just really, really interesting. In all different like greenery areas and parks.
It's really
There were
cool.
all those different,
What town was that, Mary?
Hyannisport.
Well, you know, I just read in the paper, because I had this thought a couple of years ago or last year. Because when you have a parade, you close the streets and it causes a lot of chaos.
Yeah,
And what they did was they had it in the park and they had the people in the middle of the park and they had everything set up around the outside of the
Absolutely.
park. So they didn't have to close up the streets because they were actually getting shot down because they weren't allowed to close the street for their parade.
but that's what I mean. I mean, if you're thinking about having
That was a big
things
picture.
move toward an area where people are safe and not on Main Street congested. I thought that was really interesting. John, do you know where the Black Cat is?
Yep.
Where we ate outside? Right across the street is where the ferries, you can go to, well, right along the water, right along that walkway, there's like a paved walkway and all there, all along it are all the artist sheds. It was the really very, very neat. And I could see that for there.
Right.
I've seen walkways with exercise stations.
Yeah, oh yeah, they wanted to do that in
In
Willington.
Wellington, they have
Those
that.
are,
Yeah, did they do
those
it?
are
Yeah.
really neat. Yep, yep. And I've seen walkways where my daughter runs a class in Springfield that's an exercise class. I think they call it a stroller class. It's for moms with kids. And they have, everybody has their children in strollers and they go along and stop and exercise.
See, all of these things
Yeah.
that could happen.
I think
Yeah.
I heard that would go in Enfield, at the senior center, somebody said there's a walkway with exercising, I didn't see it, it was at night, places to do different exercises
Yeah.
as you went along.
I know in the Manchester Park, and all these ideas are things that I think exactly what that woman was trying to tell me is going on at that Manchester Park, as far as like people are coming there to exercise and get together. They also have this really interesting area where they have all these different types of drums, including, you know, xylophones, gongs, and have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
It's really cool, and it's music, it sounds very beautiful too, but it's educational as well. So, I mean, there's another thing that we could do.
If anybody goes to Battery Park in New York and you walk along that area is great too. They have all different areas. There's this one area where you go in and there's like chess pieces and there's funky little things in there for kids. It's all out of concrete and it's just a great area that people want to congregate. And I know that's a big famous area and we can't ever do
I
that,
think
but
we
it's
have
the
the
kind of,
baseball diamond in the middle.
I
There's
know.
a lot of
Baseball
space, there's a lot of
done.
space outside of there, I
Well,
think.
then you have the tennis court with so there's not really a lot of space that's not,
Utilized.
utilized, really.
All right, I'm gonna kind of just bring this back together. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna contact the folks that I know, that CCB, Hipskies, you're gonna talk to
Knight.
Knight Construction, and I'm gonna try and set up some sort of a date over the, probably try to get it before our next meeting, where we can meet down at Hyde Park with some folks and just kind of do a walkthrough, get an idea, show them what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
and see, you know, what kind of volunteerism we're gonna get out of those folks, to start with.
Do you know Dave Roy?
I don't know him that well, but I
I've
can,
met him a
He's a
couple times.
landscaper. I think he has a mini excavator.
okay.
Oh, I don't know
He
him.
might, you
Do I
know,
know him? Do I?
I don't know.
Did you tell me I didn't?
No, I didn't say that. Nope.
Was he the former prison guard guy?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
sure.
I know of him, I just don't know
Oh,
him.
that was in there.
Yeah, he does landscaping and that sort of thing.
All right, and then in the, and also in the meantime, and I don't know, maybe we can, yeah, I'll go down and talk, I'd be glad to talk to Chris and some folks, but kind of put feelers out to folks that are gonna be looking for money. Especially the folks that are already kind of signed on. I can send a note to Roger Ingram, tell him, you know, what our plan is, trying to get a grant, but we're gonna need money. What is the Lions Club willing to do, how much?
And make a list of people were thinking
Yeah,
about.
we'll get a list of donors
Yeah.
and see where we are and see how much deeper do we have to go to the community and ask.
I think that's the
I think
next
that's
thing to do.
Good idea about that little bubble, how far, this is, we need
Yeah.
$6,000 and we're that far.
That should be put out right now, matter of fact. That wouldn't be a bad idea. People don't know that. that's
Except
how
that they all start donating money and you get the 6,000 and you're applying for the grant and then.
Well, that was just it, I hate
What
to
happens?
get the money, well, it's not that I hate to get the money, but you get the money and then you get
It's
the
a lot of
grant.
work for Amber.
You don't wanna
to do
give,
this.
yeah, you don't wanna give the money back, right? You wanna keep the money and do something with it, but,
Well, chances are we won't get all the money that
Right.
we, and chances are you won't get all the money that you've asked for, so maybe
Right.
that.
yeah, between all of it, it'll all come
just
together.
the right amount.
The other option was they also kind of do features of parks and things like benches, chess boards, picnic tables, so if you wanted to perhaps, I'd have to change the narrative, but, and it's due Wednesday, but
It is.
it would
yes.
have to, so,
But I don't think we can do that without approval of the Hyde Park Commission. We can't be bringing in any
That's
other.
true.
I mean, we're approved.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Let's start with this and.
You'll have
okay.
some.
So unfortunately, obviously, the timeline is not ideal,
And she's
but-
been waiting, I know,
but
because
it's
you
kind
guys
of-
have been,
I think
but it's just the way it is.
Wednesday, you gotta apply for, and I dream a little bigger, just because
Okay.
I did the one grant for the amphitheater, and it was up to 15, but I got 10, and I applied for 15. And just to tell you what I went through with Hyde Park, Rick said he'd do whatever he could, but there was things we couldn't get the town to do. So he went back to the Hyde Park Commission, and when we realized we got the $10,000 grant, 5,000 was for materials for the amphitheater, 5,000 was to put on the Blues Fest. And I could make tickets and get that, and that's what the tickets sold back into that. And what we did when Prue started helping us was, it was actually Kroll's standing there having a beer with me at the Blues Fest. He said, why don't you get 4 big companies and have them match funds? And that's what we started doing, asking each place for $250, and then at the end, Howard, Kroll, Nameplate, and Prue, each, whatever we came up with, and it was, we wanted to get 10 grand and get 10 match, so we'd have 20. We ended up getting like 8,800, so they each put in 2,000, not the full amount, so we didn't have too much, we were actually a little short. That was a nice way to ask a couple big donors to match what individuals and, some people put up 250. And if you do have too much money, you get your grant. I mean, I had designed terracing over to the left for the amphitheater. I mean, Hyde Park has had offers already, flowers, and you could make it better there, but I thought that was the greatest thing that Kroll suggested. He was willing to do it. I don't think he's around enough to do that.
Right,
But
yeah, I know.
some of the names you threw out, the Lions Club, that was a good way to start. If we get, 5 to match 1,000 or so, everybody pitches in, they all feel part of it. And we're still working on the plaque that kind of tells everybody's name and where to put it. But, that's another suggestion, because we were waiting on the grant, we didn't know if we'd get 0 and it did go favorably.
Okay.
Grants are the best.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hurry up and wait.
Yep. All right.
John, could I
Yep.
have 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Just show Amber
You're on the
where
clock.
it started.
Tick, 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 tick.
This is where it started. Pay attention. Pay attention. Up to Warren Woolen Company up there
Yeah.
with Adam. If he ever did anything up
Al's
there, my
vision.
dream, this is just a
This is how it
dream, but
started,
don't go
I gotta
laughing.
hear it.
I'm not gonna laugh.
I'm
because
listening
I-
now,
Dave,
Al,
I'm
I'm
a big
listening.
Him having a walk, a ride back here, and he had gazebos and everything right on the water. The water's right here in the back. But this is the mill, and as it goes, and you go up further up that street, I don't know if there's any, I don't think there's any walkways on that side, but right in front of the mill. And if he did a store up there or something, if it all came back, that's where the walk would actually start. Go down through here, you need new sidewalks here from the grant money. And then Furnace Avenue starts and walks by that hobby place. Then that's the Route 19, East Main Street. Comes around by the town hall, and then it goes by the police station. Then you get your ice cream, and you keep walking, and you go over the bridge, and the walk starts and goes around. Or you keep going and you go up the streets. But that's what
Okay.
the whole connection would have been. Just a crazy thought, that if he did anything up there,
Yeah.
it would tie the whole town together.
Well, it's
Yeah, I
funny
know you
because
have
I
this
did-
side.
It definitely, thank you, Rick, I appreciate your time. I do, I know it was extra time for you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, but dissecting I always say the plan of conservation and development, but it's a strategic plan that's been set forth in Stafford, and one of it was opening up the waterways, because right now they're all very blocked off, behind buildings, behind fences, whatever they are, and so, I don't know if you've been reading that, but that kind of correlates directly with.
No,
Yeah, our whole thing started with this drawing. This
But I
was
think
what
it would be
started.
interesting to go up and see, I think his name is Adam, isn't it, the one that owns the mill?
Jacob.
Jacob. Oh,
Still,
there might be pictures in, in one of the offices or something there,
About
that,
Just for-
what's the name of the?
When the trail is successfully
Oh,
created.
well,
Yeah, this was where it all grew from.
Laura Piana
yeah,
owned it, the Italians owned it,
Yeah.
and they had visions of having, in the back of that first mill when you go up on the right, not the separate building next to the parking lot, but the first building with all the windows, and then
Yeah.
the road goes in and goes around the back.
Yep,
Of course, it goes to the back side of the mill, but the water is right there.
yeah.
And the
And
rose
he had-
gardens, they had rose gardens there that.
Did they really?
Well, they're still there, but they're, there's poison ivy in them, very hard to take care of them.
be a
The
great
garden
place,
club
though.
wanted to do that, and I said, I can't even get near poison ivy.
I mean, you're looking over the dam,
Mary
you're looking over the
Yeah,
dam.
no, I can't. I'd be allergic to that. Thanks, Don.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
bad.
just,
It goes along with my
but you need the money
allergies.
for the sidewalk.
Not a good thing.
Oh,
Holy cow, we're an hour and a half in, Stacy, what happened?
Damn.
You violated my policy.
Yeah, it's like a 300 committee.
Rose gardens.
yeah.
All right, I won't close it all, I'll let,
Yeah.
one last go around, does anybody have anything else with the Riverwalk before we open up the box?
Yeah.
Was it submitted via citizens, like
We
more
did.
walking areas
All
and
From here?
Oh, yes, it
No.
was.
Good, 'cause that's what I
where
wrote.
it originally started. We did have two people.
We did have some.
We did.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't
And
embellished.
then
They said
Al-
they'd like to have a river.
That's what
and then
grants are
Al
for,
picked
you
up on
Yeah, I
it.
know.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you should, more than one person said they wanted a Riverwalk, and they did say Riverwalk
Oh,
on
yeah,
that.
they did.
Yeah.
Yes, that's next Wednesday, right?
I want you to know that all the
I was gonna go to that, but it was
all
like
the
$80
forms
to
are
get
gone.
signed.
Oh, but they
People had
didn't
taken
put
the forms.
but they didn't put them in there.
You know those people.
Where would they go to?
They took them
Alright.
back to write them
Go
up.
to
I don't know.
Center for Economic Development.
Well, you got something there. They're tight.
People typed up their thing.
I was paying for it.
It's free.
Wow. We'll double it then. Bring guests.
Is it relevant?
I don't know if you wanna read these, but they're in there, I
Type
won't wanna read them.
Wow.
Mary, I don't know if you wanna hear all these.
Why?
No.
Are they about me?
Well, they're about you and me, one of them's got you and me in it. I don't
Oh,
know if
for
you don't like
God's
what I
sakes.
read, but anyway. Greetings, can the art in the lot downtown be changed on a bi-yearly or yearly basis? There are lots of artists in town that could have a chance, and I'd like to see some new stuff soon and have more people's work represented. Thanks.
I agree with that.
I love that
one.
We did
I
talk
have an
about
idea.
that.
Yeah.
Actually, I had it before, but now that someone else had something, I thought it would be kind of a cool opportunity since the farmer's market is going down there to kind of have agricultural themed
Yes,
paintings.
yes.
Like whether it was tractors or chickens or produce or whatever that
That's
artist's
fine.
All the
interpretation of.
cucumbers and tomatoes.
I thought that would be kind of cool to.
I like that.
But you'd have
Yeah.
to try to contact some of the local artists and see
Correct.
if they're willing to draw some stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, this is just a brainstorming idea
Yeah,
when I was
I think
I'll
driving
put
with
that
it.
one on our list, though, I mean, that's a good.
Contact the
I think
schools
that's-
Who
too.
do we
The
contact?
students at the school, the art teacher at the high school,
No, I mean,
the
who do
school,
we
they do
suggest that
beautiful
to?
work.
So,
Arts
Arts
Commission?
Commission,
Yeah, they're the ones that
correct.
did the lot, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll send that to them. All right, one way to improve our town is to fix our roads. What is being done about that? Who is responsible to fix them? Well, Rick's not here. I would like to see a
All the
plan soon
townspeople.
by the first selectman to tell us what she is going to do about this.
We're gonna pass our
goes-
budget so
That
that our
goes on our
money.
list into the first selectman's office.
Yep.
Yeah, all we need is money.
All right, this one is loaded for bear. Boy, this one, I don't know who sent this one.
When did I
It's
get
a long one. I think one way to enhance Stafford would be to stop all the negativity on Facebook. The election is over, but there are still some people who are so angry, including the people who supported the people who won. Make Stafford look bad. There's a page that is called something like Stafford Discussion Page Uncensored, and it's mostly opinion about the P&Z and not Stafford. Why are so many people going after the Planning and Zoning Board? Why is there never anything positive on that page about the P&Z? Clearly, someone tapes them and posts stuff on that uncensored page, but they don't post the whole meeting so people can make up their own minds. I was told by a member of the Agricultural Board that helped the P&Z redo the regulations that both groups approved of, that it was great experience, and I wonder why that isn't mentioned. Our new first selectman wants there to be peace and have everyone work together. But this is not positively Stafford at all. My husband and I are both Republicans, and if the leadership in our party knows about this page and is doing nothing, we'd like them to say something. We did not vote for Mary and John to see this kind of behavior in our town, and it reflects badly on them too. Thanks for all you do.
Oh, they
Okay, so
did
wasn't
vote
as
for
bad.
you,
Yeah.
but they,
So I don't know who, again, I don't.
I'm not sure how much control you will have over
You
a
can't
thing
have
like
control,
that.
it's
Yeah.
freedom of speech. There's
One, I
nothing-
don't, I look at Facebook once a year, but Stafford Discussion Page Uncensored, I don't know whose that is.
No idea.
Stafford discussion page uncensored?
Stafford.
I think it's the
Discussion
same way as not being able to tell anybody's page what they can and can't say. Does anybody like the negativity? I don't think anybody likes the negativity.
I think
Oh.
John is a solution that you look at it once a year. The place to get things done is to come in here and talk
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly,
I never
that's
read
why
it.
I'm more of a person that wants, like I said, I'd like to go
Right,
face to
right.
face and ask.
I don't think I can be more,
But, you
more
know,
positive than I am already.
But the thing they brought up about why is that all you hear, does, where have they been? That's all you hear on the news is the bad stuff, that's what
Yeah.
sells, nobody wants to hear the good
Right, right,
stuff.
right.
Or nobody seems to write the good stuff, they just, the more they can write bad stuff that people get worked up over, that's what draws people into that
And I
stuff.
can't blame that comment,
This is Stafford page is nothing but positive,
but I can't blame the comment, there is a lot of negativity out there. And, I'm not a proponent of it, and
We don't go on Facebook, so I don't hear
It's
anything.
social
like that.
media.
I stop,
Social
I find my
media.
anxiety is much
They
lower
really
when it's
hate
not
it,
going
they
on.
really. do.
nobody will see me out there saying anything
Drives me
bad,
crazy,
so
but what are you gonna do? It's part of life.
it shouldn't be.
What do we wanna do now with this?
Where was it?
It was at the library.
2 holes and a bird feeder, no. Just kidding.
Donald made that.
No, it's a good idea, to get people to put stuff down.
I don't know,
If
it,
I, honestly, God, if I was ever handed something up
Near.
there and they said, hey, look at this, and it wasn't signed, I just went, I mean, if you don't have.
We have the 300 year anniversary.
Your name on
They
it,
didn't
I-
put them in, they didn't put 'em in there.
It's not bad to get some ideas.
I don't get why
Put
they
it down to the.
Where is that gone, the community center,
Barrel.
library, middle ground,
it was at the bakery, the
middle ground?
It started
middle ground for a
here.
while, which it did well there, maybe go
Yeah.
back there, I don't know.
It was here, then it was at Middle Ground, then it was at.
The laundromat,
No, it was
Shells.
at Mill Pond before that.
yeah.
Then it
Somebody's
was-
broken at the laundromat.
Was
Get
it,
to it.
was it the
I
senior
had it
center?
at the gym for a bit.
You had it at the gym, and it was at the senior
Senior
center,
center.
it was at the laundromat,
Was that Bonnie
it was at
Jeans?
Bonnie Jeans, back here at the town hall, back to, then we changed it to 300 year anniversary ideas,
Right.
and it went back to the coffee shop, to the library.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just gonna include that because of the grant.
But people recognize that as a suggestion box because the face of it doesn't call for suggestions, it calls for the 300th anniversary.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
put the suggestions in there, the three, you know
Well,
what I mean?
But they took the
So-
forms for the 300 year club, but didn't put anything in there.
Well, that's a,
Yeah, change the page.
So they recognize that box as a suggestion box.
Yeah.
So fancy.
It is a nice box. So what do you want, put it back at the coffee shop with the old things in it?
I guess.
Oh, what's on the face? She says 300 years.
It does. It says
Yeah, we gotta
300.
take that off now and,
Well, I could put more of those in there.
well, it does say, Stafford Citizens Advisory Commission.
It does, yeah.
Get back to you.
This is not a complaint box, it's a suggestion.
Coffee shop, and put those back.
The regular.
Put the regular ones back in, see if we get any more bites.
All right,
Is that okay?
yeah.
We're back at the middle ground.
Yeah, we'll we'll
Yeah, I
start all
think it
over
has
again.
better,
That new ownership.
it's not going in the.
Is it a new owner over there?
Soon.
We think so.
Yeah,
Really?
Have Middleborough?
yeah.
Kathy doesn't own it anymore?
No, she does. I don't know.
I don't think it's gone through yet, but she told me that.
It's very exciting, actually.
Mm.
It is. Boy, Don, this is the night for you to have taken notes.
Wait, did you get off easy?
I'll give you mine.
Wow, that'll be.
You know, you only got 7 days to get those. Or Karen's gonna hunt me down.
I'll get them.
I know, don't worry, don't, hey, I get them from Donald in time and then I forget and then I don't get them to Karen in time, so I'm just as much of an offender, so don't kill yourself over it. All right, we have open discussion, I know we've been at it an hour and 40 minutes, but I'll open up the floor. You folks want to,
I do have people bringing ideas to me. And one of them was that we don't have enough garbage pails in our public areas so that people are tending to put the garbage on the ground. Now, maybe they would anyway, but a couple of people mentioned it to me about,
like which public,
receptacles.
yeah, which public areas, like down?
well, there's one pail in Haymarket Common that gets so filled up.
I've had it before.
And it's there, and that's
Can we put it
good.
on when there, you think?
So it was when I first started, so I didn't have enough time to create the narratives, but it's a Keep America Beautiful, and I know that it's actually through kind of like Coca-Cola or something, but they will give you, obviously if you apply, that you can apply for certain types of receptacles that are
Yeah.
like appropriate for your community. You can have recycling with side-by-side garbage cans, because they've done studies. But also I think that maybe a recycling program, I think we've talked
Yeah.
about it, 300 committee.
Yes.
Going forth would be a smart thing to have for Stafford.
Did they give other examples of places, like where?
Well, like between, there is a receptacle at the ice cream depot, I believe, right near there. But then people walk with it,
Right.
and so in the
But
mornings when I'm in.
But the one outside the ice cream's probably his own, but
Yeah.
I was thinking
Right.
maybe more down towards the benches, like as you walk
Yeah.
down towards the.
Right,
There's
or they
one
come
in
across
here.
here and there's nothing in front of the town hall.
Yeah, there's one in near the palace, kind of.
Is there?
Yeah, but who owns those? Is it owned by the business owners or is
It's
that
a
their
green-
town responsibility? I don't
It's
know.
one that matches the one at Haymarket, I believe. But there should be more, and there's no recycling.
I'll talk to
No.
Rick.
Absolutely no
I'll see
recycling.
Rick if there's a way for us to put a few more receptacles.
Well, I remember.
And also, we don't want garbage cans everywhere, right?
No.
Exactly, and
No.
they get dumped.
No.
Yeah, right, and then,
Right, I know. It's
Somebody has to watch them, yeah.
yeah.
Somebody has to watch them, then the
Empty
town
them.
has to empty them, and then they
Right.
get overflowing, and,
But
but,
even in the parks, like I know like Gatorade bottles and water bottles, like there's no separate
right.
garbage in plastic
Recycling,
recycling. Which at a sports facility. that's
Sure, and
kind
now
of a
people are
huge-
looking for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't
Olympic
even,
field.
I'd take it home.
Where's that?
At Olympic Field, yeah.
Yeah, there was always a couple of big garbage
Yeah.
cans there. We were always good
But the
about,
town dumped them.
Putting our
Town
stuff
took that stuff.
Town
That was
picks them up.
the town's job
Yeah.
to pick those up.
Yeah, Keeley Field,
Yeah.
Olympic Field. Maybe.
The high school, up at the track up there, the town
Yeah.
empties those, even after our big
Yeah, West Stafford School.
booster club events, they still take care of the garbage up there as far as that goes.
Well, maybe there are more than we think. But
Yeah,
down
but-
here, there,
what else?
Well,
is
something you're aware of, yeah, what else?
Town of Stafford, carry in, carry out.
Maybe. We do
Yeah,
have
well, I was
something.
thinking the same thing, you're.
I mean, I do this.
Well, that's
I
what
can't
people we
pay
would have
for
for the
people to
trail,
reuse
People-
their waste, you
Yeah.
know,
You gotta get
reusable
going.
stuff.
what they say, on most trails, they say, would you carry?
Carry
in,
would you
carry
bring in,
out.
bring out, right? They
Right.
do say that.
right. The speed limit on Leventhal Drive. At the
That's
high
the high,
school.
that's